there, it's Laura from Laura Womwell Photography, and joining me today is Bailey Forgeron of Underdog Co in Waterdown. Hi, Bailey. I am thrilled to have you here today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. It's super awesome to be here.
So you are currently the owner and operator of a grooming salon in Waterdown. How did you end up there?
Gosh, I kind of fell into grooming accidentally years ago, trying to just have a part-time job to get me through the summer when I was in college at Conestoga for radio broadcast, interestingly enough. And a friend of mine was managing the PetSmart there and asked me if I would want to be a bather. And the rest is kind of history. I fell in love with it super quick. I mean, I've always been into animals and loved caring for animals and being around animals and surrounded by animals and in a pile of animals. But this was this was a little bit different than I was expecting and super exciting, super interesting. And I just never really looked back, ended up not going back to school and going to school for grooming instead. And the rest is kind of history. Been doing that. That was in 2009. So it's been quite a while
Oh, wow.
since then. Yeah. Yeah.
Given my own experiences trying to tidy up my own pets, I would imagine that grooming is really challenging. So of all
It
the
certainly can be.
So what sort of training do groomers undergo to get the skills that they need to deal with those challenging situations?
Well, there's a variety of different avenues that one could take. Mine was one that a lot of people take, and they end up at PetSmart that kind of does their kind of in-house grooming academy. So generally speaking, across the board, everybody would start as what we call like a bather or a grooming assistant, and doing, those sorts of bath and brush dogs, short hair, smooth coat dogs that don't, need any trimming, no scissor work, no clipper work, just to get, good and familiar with handling of different sizes and, temperaments of dogs, and generally building upon it from there. So once you're getting a little bit more comfortable with that, you might move on to, trimming just feet, or doing more long-haired like brush outs, blowouts, those sorts of things, and expand from there. PetSmart, as I said, has an in-house grooming academy, which is one that I took, and then later on in my career actually ended up teaching. But you might do something similar in a private shop, with less of a title behind it as far as, an academy goes, more of an apprenticeship, similar to a lot of other trades where you would learn from somebody you trusted to teach you the ins and outs and the right ways to do things in order to go off into a career on your own, with them or separately.
Nice. Are there any particular breeds that you really enjoy grooming, or particular cuts that you really enjoy?
Well, I mean, the list of breeds that I enjoy working with is really long, so I'll spare you all of the ramblings of that. Dogs are all super interesting, and they all have their unique personalities, and that's part of what makes grooming so interesting, is that every day is a different day, and every day has its own excitements and challenges and whatnot. So it's not so much about a particular breed as it is, the individual personalities of each dog that I really enjoy. As far as clips that I like to have fun. Anytime that anybody asks me to get a little bit creative, or maybe they want to try something new, I really enjoy that. So if, anybody out there wants to try that mullet dog challenge that's been going around, I'm your guy. Come find me. I want to give a dog a mullet.
Amazing. So are there any situations day to day that might be more challenging than others, like dealing with dogs who are coming in for their first groom, or anxious dogs?
Yeah, absolutely. The grooming is certainly not without its challenges. It can be difficult for sure. And I mean, the fact is that we're working with moving targets and sharp tools, and that can come with its own set of challenges, but there's also, the emotional well-being of the pet that's in our care. And first grooms are a perfect example of that. It's very important to introduce dogs to grooming, whether they be puppies or rescues that have not had the experience and the buildup that, some other dogs might have had the privilege of getting. It's very important to go about things the right way, do little bits in as frequent way as possible, as opposed to trying to do too much too fast, and really creating a negative association with grooming. The way Underdog and Co is set up is specifically to cater to those sorts of situations. I do one-on-one grooming only. A lot of shops are very busy shops, and that's great for a lot of people and a lot of dogs, but for a lot of dogs and a lot of people, that's just too much, right? And it can create a stressful experience if you're not the kind of being that fits well into that sort of scenario. So I do intentional one-on-one grooming so that it's whatever that individual dog needs, whether it's breaks, whether or not it's, a little sit down and cuddle, or just stop and call it a day and, try again another day sort of situation. I have the time and the attention to give to those individual pets' needs. Yeah.
Perfect. We actually had an owner in the Facebook group who was wondering, they've taken in a new rescue who's a pretty nervous pup. Is there anything that owners can be doing to help at home leading up to the groom, to help the dog feel comfortable when they're coming into this new situation?
Absolutely. And a lot of the times the specific things to work on are going to be very individual to the dog and their, specific anxieties, fears, discomforts, that sort of thing. But on a very broad, general basis, any sort of positive handling is going to help. If your dog is nervous about having their paws held, the idea is not to avoid ever having their paws touched. It's to show them that it's okay and that it's safe and that nothing terrible is going to happen to you, and we're going to hold paws. It's going to be all right. I mean, obviously we don't want to push anybody to do anything that's going to escalate them to a point of real distress, but little bits of exposure to things that might otherwise make them nervous is certainly going to help them be prepared for a stranger doing those things.
Excellent. What's something that you wish that the general public knew about the business of dog grooming?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I think that a lot of people have a little bit of a misconception that, it's all, puppy snuggles and rainbows. There are very real challenges that are faced by groomers. It can be a dangerous job at times. We get bit, we get scratched. We are, working sometimes with animals that really don't enjoy what we're doing. And we're not only trying to get through those things safely for the dogs and for ourselves, but we're trying to build a positive atmosphere. It's a real challenging career for sure. And there's lots of upsides to it. But I think that a lot of people don't necessarily see it as seriously as it actually is.
And this past year obviously has forced a lot of businesses to make a lot of changes. What are some things that that you've had to change about the way you operate with COVID?
Well, luckily for me, I guess, I actually opened my shop during this pandemic. So I was able to open it up in a way that allows for contactless drop-offs, if that's, the way that a drop-off needs to be in, whatever current guidelines we have. And being that I am one-on-one, dogs are scheduled in a way that doesn't allow for any overlap of clients crossing over in reception areas. So there haven't actually been a lot of changes per se to my business because it was set up in a way that allowed for, those kinds of safety protocol to just be inherent within it. But a lot of grooming shops, again, are definitely facing some really hard challenges when it comes to that. There was a brief period of time there in between starting to reopen the area that I was in and the provincial shutdown that was in between December and February, where we had to do curbside. Nobody was allowed to come into the shop. And again, for a lot of dogs, that's going to work out just fine. But for a lot of dogs who are not particularly excited to go to the groomers, that could pose a safety challenge as far as going outside to get a dog where there isn't a door in between you and the main intersection at the corner, right? So if a dog is fussed and trying to get away, they could slip a collar and run off. That's a very scary possibility to be faced with. A lot of groomers have had to put, big kennel runs outside if they're able to, or, going into getting dogs out of people's cars, which is another safety concern. It's not without its challenges for sure, as, any business that's having to kind of roll with the punches right now. There's stuff, but I'm in a position where I'm set up pretty well to handle it.
Excellent. What's one of your favorite things to help people with inside your business?
My absolute favorite thing is when I have a dog that I know has had some socialization issues, maybe some past not so positive interactions with the grooming world, and a dog that's just generally fearful, and to be able to work with that dog and with that client, because obviously I can't do it all on my own, to get to a point where that dog is starting to learn to trust me. A dog that has in the past shied away or hid when they come in the door, to see that dog come towards me excited and wagging their tail, there is nothing that makes me happier than that. That's straight communication from that dog that I am doing my job the way that they need me to do my job. And that means everything to me.
Perfect. Yeah, I think with so many pet-based businesses, it's about developing those relationships over time, whether it's
Absolutely.
with the pet or with the owners.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't force that. You need to create that. You need to want to create it, and then you need to actually do it.
Are there any tips for the owners for developing the best possible relationship with their groomer?
Yeah, I mean, communication is key. Absolutely, right from the get-go. We want your pet to be happy first and foremost, but we want the owners to be happy as well. So communication and participation. It needs to, if we're only seeing a dog, every 4, 6, 8 weeks, whatever the schedule may be, there needs to be, work on both sides in order to build that relationship. But I mean, don't be afraid to communicate to your groomer if there's something that you want a little bit different, or if you have any concerns, if you have any questions. Your groomer wants what's best for your dog, and they're going to want to participate in that relationship.
Excellent. I have a couple more community questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
So with it being prime mud season out there, are there any tips for owners who may have some mud puppies in their house, keeping them clean when they get in without traumatizing their dogs?
Well, I mean, wiping paws on a regular basis on the way in not only is great for your floors, but it is constant paw handling for your dogs. And those little interactions of daily paw handling are going to make your dog a lot more comfortable when they come into the groomer as well. So that's like a win-win for your carpets and for your dog and for your groomer and for yourself. I find honestly with grooming, the key is prevention and maintenance, right? So if we wait until we're completely covered in mud, as opposed to, like wiping a little bit here and there, you're going to have an easier time.
Nice. This next question actually, I think, ties into prevention as well. We had a question about mixed breeds with curly nails. And is there a way to keep on top of those nails? I know the best nail trim is one that's done by a professional, but anything that owners can be doing to keep that under control.
Yeah, I mean, getting on a good nail schedule first and foremost is going to be key. I think that there does tend to be a little bit of misconception on how much or how frequently a dog's nails should be trimmed. And part of that is because every dog is going to be on a different schedule. Just like your nails grow at a different rate than mine do, my two dogs have nails that need to be on different nail trimming schedules. And some dogs, it's as frequently as every 3 weeks. And that's going to be the best way to keep those nails back. We really want nails to not be applying pressure to the ground, right? Because any pressure that's hitting those nails is hitting every joint all the way up on that dog. So the best way is to get on a good grooming schedule or a good nail schedule. And if you're comfortable doing your dog's nails yourself, which is great, that's awesome, doing little bits as frequently as every 2 weeks, even just to take the tips off to keep them back. Again, it's excellent handling. It's excellent desensitization, and that way there's not so much to come off that you're worried about going too far because you're just doing the amount that's grown. And the only way to keep up with knowing how much that is to be super familiar with your dog's nails.
Perfect. What are some tips for folks who may be seeking out a groomer? Are there anything that people should look for when they're trying to find someone to help their pet?
Well, I mean, I think it's important to determine what your goals are as far as what kind of environment you want your dog in. Do you want a place that offers boarding or after hours care as well? Do you want someone with cage free options? Do you want somebody who specifically doesn't use cage dryers or this or that, to try and do some research? A lot of groomers will have these particular factors that they put in place, different policies and procedures that make their shop what it is, and not all shops are created equal, and each shop will have an environment that works better for somebody else. So to figure out what are your goals for your dog and to be able to research who you think is the best fit, I think would be the best way. But again, communication. I love it when somebody sends me a great big long email and maybe tells me some of their concerns so I can follow those concerns. Or maybe the response is to them that, this seems reasonable to me and I can be a voice to support what is real in the industry. Whatever the case may be, at least I know what needs to be communicated back, right? If somebody just makes an appointment for, my 4-year-old Shih Tzu, and I don't know any other information, it's hard to, cater to that individual situation.
Wow. So overshare about your pet. We love that. And speaking of oversharing, I would love to hear you overshare about your pets. Who is currently living with you these days?
Goodness. Well, I have a trio of knuckleheads that I fondly refer to as the Smash Brothers. The oldest one is a Chinese crested named Pan, although he's often referred to as Paniel or Pansum or Pandemonium when he's being ridiculous. He is a 13-year-old rescue. I am one of his several homes that he's had in his life, and he is a special little guy, we'll say. I also have another hairless animal who is a Sphinx named Renfrew, aka Renfrew Smash, aka Wreck-It Renfrew, who really likes to be in everything and on everything and just generally keeping me on my toes. Anybody who is familiar with me and my pets knows Renfrew as kind of the wild child of the group, but he's super sweet, super loving, very cuddly, very sweet. And he is 7. And my other 7-year-old is a Roddy mix named Beefcake or Cake. We just call him Cake. He is stunning and the absolute love of my life. But he is Cake Smash, and together they are the Smash Brothers. And they run me.
I love it.
I am their pet.
Aren't we all, though?
Yeah.
I would love to hear, what are some of your favorite things to do with your pets here in Southwestern Ontario?
Well, mostly with Renfrew, I clean up after him. He is a cat and he is hairless. He is not meant for the outdoors in any way, shape, or form. And Pan is, as I said, quite old, and he's a pretty anxious guy. So he's mostly a backyard and indoor guy at this point. But Cake and I love to go for long walks. And all of us really enjoy going up to the cottage. We've got a cottage up in the Ottawa Valley. And there they can kind of, run around and be a little bit more free than they can, here in the city. And that's just great to be by the water, out on the boat. Whatever we're feeling like that day.
Nice. So to end off, I have a couple of rapid fire questions for you.
Oh gosh. All right.
Okay.
Let's go.
So, cat or dog?
Dog.
Favorite breed?
No. Great Dane.
Nice. What are your pet's favorite treats?
They are homemade from a little company called Little Pantry Baking Co., based out of Baden. Delicious treats.
Excellent. Are your pets full of beans, full of dreams, or full of something entirely different?
Renfrew is full of beans, Cake is full of beans, and Pan is full of something entirely different.
If your pets were to be played by human actors in a movie, who would play them?
I actually know the answer to this question 100%. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. Cake is 100% Matthew McConaughey. That's what his voice is. Pan is, for some reason, Meryl Streep. He's quite serious and has a lot of opinions about a lot of things, but is absolutely fabulous. And who did I decide Renfrew was? Oh gosh. Who's that other guy from Wedding Crashers? The taller of the two, dark hair. Why can't I remember his name?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't watched Wedding Crashers.
I know his name.
Vince Vaughn?
Yes. Renfrew is Vince Vaughn.
I Googled it.
Yeah, thank you. I was in the process of doing that myself. I don't know. I couldn't remember his name. I could picture him.
Awesome. If money were no object and all of our current restrictions were lifted, what is one amazing thing that you would do to spoil your pets?
I don't know. I think I would still go to the cottage. Like, we just love it there so much. Money is not really it's not about money spent. It's about the time that we share together, and those are some of our most special times. So I would stick with that.
Excellent. I
Give the
love that
money to
answer.
someone else.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It has been such a joy chatting with you today, Bailey. What can folks in this Southwestern Ontario pet community do to best help support you and your business?
Well, I just, um, I don't know about support. I really love the engagement that I have on the social media, my Instagram at Underdog and Co, and on Facebook at Underdog and Co. Of course, everything's linked. But I really enjoy interacting with everybody on there. So even if somebody isn't, necessarily a client of mine, to come on and see, like the little pictures and the little videos that I'm sharing, it's just a lot of fun for me. So I mean, community engagement would be my absolute favorite thing that anybody could do. Just come hang out with me online. I'm having a lot of fun, and I want everybody else to have a lot of fun along with me.
Awesome. And is there anything else that you'd like to say to the folks out there?
It's just stay safe, stay as positive as you can, take care of yourselves right now. Everybody's having, all kinds of very individual challenges, and we could all afford to give ourselves a little bit of grace and a little bit of patience in this time. A lot of messages going in to, take care of your neighbors and, to be kind to other people. And I think we could all just stand to be a little bit kinder to ourselves. So that would be what the message I would like to send to everybody is just give yourself a break, give yourself some forgiveness, and give yourself some patience. It's all hard right now.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing some of your time with me, Bailey. I have had a blast chatting with you.
It's been really great. Thank you so much for inviting me, and thanks for taking the time. It's been a great chat.
Awesome. Well, I am Laura from Laura Walmwell Photography, and joining me today was Bailey Forgeron of Underdog & Co. And we both hope that you and your pets have an awesome day. Bye.
Bye.